When I first came to Mongolia, I knew that even in this land of steppe and desert we would find vast forests. It did not surprise me how forested the landscape was, but I was taken aback by how damaged the forests were. The pristine virgin forest complexes along the country's northern border are inaccessible to the average tourist or herder. But the edges of these vast forests at the transition to the steppe have intensive grazing, logging, gold mining and frequent fires. Mining for gold has had a fatal impact on the steppe forest landscape, as well as on the lives of mainly herders. All that's left of what was once a native riparian forest is just this tree.
Mongolia is a traditionally nomadic country, and last few decades we are towards moving to settled lifestyle, but the majority of the population is still doing this livestock husbandry. And when we're talking about the forest and livestock, there is always the conflicts, and we have increasing number of livestock. That means, together with the climate-related negative impacts to the forest, addition is the livestock pressure to the forest.
The local people and politicians are aware of the poor state of the forest landscape. In the international STREAM project, financed by the European Union, we are attempting to improve the condition of these damaged forests. We have been working in Mongolia for several years. We propose solutions which are easy to manage under local conditions as well as sustainable in the long term. The measures implemented will result in a healthy and functional forest that benefits all people.
I think that the importance of the STREAM project is to incentivize the Mongolian public, researcher, and also to introduce sustainable practice.
In the north, close to the Russian border, we are taking a trip with a group of students into a native forest type. We're going into the dark taiga. It's a biotope that you won't see anywhere else. We should see some fir, there should be some Siberian pine, and maybe even spruce, which are habitats that are actually outside our target areas. It's mainly for educational purposes, so that students can see a different type of biotope. And we can then talk about management principles and why it's important to protect these rare habitats. Travelling in such outdated vehicles sometimes presents its own problems, but most of them can be solved on the spot by a skilled driver. Well, our truck has broken down in the mud, and the night is coming, and the rain is coming, and we could just perish right here. It's some connection between the steering wheel and the wheel. The driver wants us to turn the steering wheel so he can check if the repair will hold. All done. The dark taiga is a unique ecosystem that is closely linked with the permafrost, the permanently frozen soil, which is thawing due to climate change. This source of fresh water is declining, and most of all, the ecosystem is at risk. These stands are typical, where the subsoil is actually permafrost. We're trying to find a sample for the students, so that maybe for the first time in their lives they can touch a relic of the last ice age. Here, in the high, mountainous, coniferous dark taiga, we're standing right on the source of clean, high-quality water for the lowland steppe animal grazing.
pastvu dobytka.
This forest community is closely linked with its presence in the permafrost, the permanently frozen ground, which is thawing due to climate change. Vladya, we are here in a completely dry larch stand. Could this be due to climate change? I think so, yes, I think so. The permafrost here has thawed, which means that the site is significantly drier and warmer, attracting insects which propagate, causing problems like this. And this is the result. This is the result, absolutely. What do you think about natural regeneration here? Could it work? Of course, just like every native forest, natural regeneration could work here. The time frame here is definitely determined by drought and also by climate change. The question is how the climate will evolve and what will happen here. And like it or not, the regeneration of such a forest always takes quite a long time.
Due to climate change, Mongolian forests are not in easy condition, but however, the better forest management and practice will improve this condition. So together with this European universities and the science team and the Mongolian universities together make a better forest practice in Mongolia.
Our activities in the project stand on 3 basic pillars. These are education, research and cooperation in practice. These first 2 pillars, education and research, complement each other beautifully and are very closely related. And we don't do all the research ourselves. We involve Mongolian universities, their experts and their students. The students actually do their bachelor's and master's theses on these research sites, and at the same time they are learning and becoming experts in their fields. In the 3rd pillar, we cooperate with forest managers. We show them how to cultivate and manage a forest economically and ecologically in a sustainable way. Here, behind us, you can see these students who are counting the natural rejuvenation that is developing here in huge numbers in this fenced-off area. There are absolutely thousands of tiny little pine seedlings. On the other hand, in the reference area, which serves as a control for the fenced-off area here, there is practically nothing rejuvenating. The animals have eaten everything. A local expert informs me in no uncertain terms. In the last 20 years, livestock numbers have increased from 25 to 70 million.
We try to keep our tradition, but because recent times we had a problem with overgrazing, there is so much, not a struggle within the foresters and herders. Yeah? In my point of view, we should increase the awareness of the herders.
We would like to involve the local herders to the forestry activities, including planting trees and maintaining the forest, which will also lead a better understanding about the forest and forestry and trees.
Initially, we attempted to plant a new forest with ordinary seedlings, but we ran into several problems. It doesn't look good. With pine, we've had very low rates of success. I think with the pine, we've only got about a 10% survival rate. One clear factor, or reason, was the poor quality of the seedlings. The vast majority of the saplings will never mature. They'll just end up as languishing runts. And besides the extreme conditions and the bad cultivation of seedlings in the nurseries, there's the additional problem here of grazing livestock. Reforestation through artificial regeneration in this case failed after a fire that occurred here in the past. We've tried artificial regeneration also with pine, which has grown successfully here in the past. However, we weren't successful with that either. Since we had partly anticipated this problem, we tried to situate the fence within which the seedlings were planted close to the aspen forest. Encouraging pioneer tree species such as aspen increases biodiversity.
The Mongolian president announced the Billion Tree National Movement, which is against the soil degradation and against the certification in Mongolia. But planting the billions of trees are one thing, but to keeping current forest is important in a better way. So this practice together, this joint activity will help us better forest management in Mongolia and same time supporting that the future, those plantations.
Forest tree seedlings are cultivated from seeds which are harvested by the adventurous, but more importantly harmless, gathering of cones high in the canopy. We try to transfer our knowledge of collecting and extracting seeds from cones to the local communities. Planting nursery-grown seedlings is a measure used where natural forest regeneration is failing. But even a forest nursery cannot do without water, which both irrigates and cools the seedlings. The nursery of the Bagant Nandin company has signed a contract to plant 100 million trees in 10 years, 3 million trees per year, as part of the Billion Tree Movement project initiated by the President. In order to achieve this goal, 5 million samplings have been planted in tree nurseries so far. The small ones, which are okay, they get replanted in a nursery. The big ones get put to one side and then we'll wrap them up in packs of sensible numbers. But we have to be careful not to damage the fine root hairs. Last year's plants, you can see it's big and has no proper root system. These results were miserable. This year we chose better seedlings, smaller with a better above to below ground ratio. So we're hoping to do well this year.
What we are doing there is we are coordinating the establishment of demonstration plots for sustainable forest management in the forest and sometimes outside the forest. And these demonstration plots are to demonstrate good practices of forest management for local stakeholders. And we also lead a series of studies, everything from forest values change, forest policy development, professional education, and we make sure that local stakeholders are involved in all steps of our project so that they can learn and not least that we can raise their awareness about sustainable forest management.
As a university, we're not alone in this project. We work with 4 Mongolian universities and 8 other research institutions from Europe and from the United States. In addition, the university consortium helps us with scientific questions and, of course, helps us with teaching. But they also provide us with a kind of mandate so that we can carry out further forestry activities in the future.
I was originally invited by Mendel University, but I really like the interconnection and the different skills that are brought by different members of the consortium. And the perspectives that they bring, I think, enlighten us all. I'm very much in favor of this consortium because we are just a better organization if we bring everybody's ideas together.
What we did last year was we just took some mineral samples, some soil samples, and this year we're adding organic layers also.
It's nice to see the enthusiasm of our younger colleagues, but living and working with them in the field is for us the biggest reward. We are dedicated to forestry practice and research.
David already told you that there is some rocks. Yeah, what kind of rocks is there? Vegetation.
We measure the soil temperature and moisture and try to assess the rate of degradation of the permafrost, the main water source for mountain forests and rivers. We've arrived in Tunchel, at the workplace of the German institution GIZ. Honza, what's happening here? The main focus today is teaching and inspecting last year's plantings.
Well, basically, the concept is to start in the forest or in the edge of the forest, not in steppe, in open landscape, but improve the edge of the forest.
The importance of practical teaching is confirmed by the students themselves.
When you are ready, we can move to the next plot, which will be the clear-cut plot, and we will sample it to compare the soil on clear-cut and forest.
We had a lot of things to do, and we had to improve our studies. But now I think it was a bit rushed because it's only like a week.
I think the management in the Mongolian forest can be a lot better. I think also laws protecting forests could be stricter or more enforced. Especially in remote areas, I think like illegal logging is more common. I think the solution could be many things, especially education for the local people. But it's hard to teach when everyone is so remote, and especially where communication is very hard to establish in the future. So it might be good to always manage and educate the people here.
I would like to work hard.
We are standing in an about 10 to 16-year-old pine stand where it's necessary to start nurturing in good time, like with this one, which helps with vigorous, straight and quality growth. Our work doesn't end with planting. If we want to gain some kind of economic benefit from the forest, we have to look after it, which means marking, felling unsuitable and diseased trees, and taking care of promising trees. The forest provides a whole range of services. It protects the soil, retains water, and produces oxygen. But it's also an important renewable material. In 150 years, a seedling grows into a tree like this. Its journey ends at the local sawmill, where this wood is used to make furniture and other products. We mainly produce household products, such as yurts like Hunulger and Mongolian ger, as well as wooden furniture and many other different things. And we are always happy when we get commissions that fulfill the needs of people. We've reached the confluence of two rivers, the larger Eru and the smaller Bayangol. The Bayangol River is a gold-bearing river that is burdened with intensive gold mining. This pollutes the Eru River, which decreases the quality of life downstream. From the forest landscape, we slowly make our way to the steppe. I'm not sure I'd like to camp on the banks of a big Mongolian river. Drinking from the river and catching meat along taimen, like in the past, is no longer possible. And when the summer drought comes, the river's wrung with sludge. It may not look like it, but I'm walking through a former forest. This forest is slowly dying, thanks to intensive grazing that's been going on for years in this area, destroying the riparian forest of soft willow. Riparian forests, or forests along streams and rivers, are an important phenomenon in an empty and dry steppe landscape. They provide refuge for livestock and wildlife from the scorching sun and form an effective wind barrier. They protect not only life on the steppe, but also the water itself in the rivers. My family has lived near this river for 11 years. I myself have lived in this area since I was born, so that's since 1993. Before, in the 1990s, things were better. There were trees growing, mainly willow and other plants suitable for grazing. It's not like that anymore. Only a few trees grow here and there. The river almost doesn't flow, and the sand dunes are moving in. Forests grew here in the past, but no longer, and we have a chance to bring them back. There is no way to bring back the forest relatively quickly other than planting with fencing. So we made it to the steppe, far away from the forest complex. Here we are, standing in Jagland province, which is experiencing progressive aridization and desertification. And our aim here is to prevent the movement of sand by stabilizing the sand dunes here. Trees can slow down shifting dunes. In this case, we proposed a solution which consisted of a system of enclosures in which we planted trees, mainly elm, which are adapted to sandy conditions and can grow naturally in sand, and so they are able to stabilize the dunes. The fencing also prevents grazing, and this gives us the potential for the growth of herbs and shrubs that grow naturally here, but which, due to the intensive grazing, never have a chance to survive and so stabilize the dune. It is difficult to shelter from the strong, persistent wind in the steppe. Sand and dust cause problems for herders and farmers. But do the local people really support forests in the countryside?
The main challenge here in Mongolia to introduce sustainable forest management is that forests are for them sacred, but it's nothing that you should benefit from. They do, of course, but it's like not official. And so then when we introduce sustainable forest management, it's about not only about reforestation, it's also about caring for the forest and caring by cutting. You take out dying trees so that you give more life space for the trees that are left in the forest. And that is a process of learning and understanding, and that to change this attitude among Mongolian people, that is among the most challenging we have faced here in Mongolia.
This situation shows that small and local projects and some examples of forest management do not help unless there is some kind of change at the societal level and unless grazing really is properly regulated.
When it comes about forests, to learn more about the EU and the European Union's partners' practice. We are used to manage our forests. It's part of our environment as an active resource where we invest, we train people, we have specialists. In other terms, we manage the resource with also business opportunities. In Mongolia, this is completely new.
But are the Tibet schools giving them the required skills you are talking about?
Not yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it means
that's what we need.
So, based on these movements, economical use of the forest in a sustainable way, we need to have new training for these people and activate more.
Yes.
Then you connect all the policies together, and we can be helpful in this regard for the dialogues we have with these three ministries.
Yeah. In order to organize this the billion tree movement, and required number of engineers and required number of skilled workers in the forest, planting and also doing other activities, and it's a big numbers. Yeah, so anyone can put trees on the ground,
Yeah,
but someone has to lead them. Someone has to make them in a proper way. Otherwise, it will be die.
The forest partnership between the European Union and Mongolia has now been signed, and I think that, together with the consortium, we have a unique chance to continue this cooperation. We need to rely on the young forestry generation, who should be educated in completely different dimensions, not these classic nomadic ones. The journey of water in both natural and man-made landscapes is accompanied by forest. Responsible forest management takes care of it and makes it comfortable for every resident and visitor. Here, at the confluence of the Eru and Orkhon, our journey of water through Mongolia comes to an end. It began high in the mountains as permafrost and will soon end when the river leaves Mongolian territory. Water is fundamental to the Mongolian landscape. Without water, life is not possible in the steppe or in the forest. On the contrary, the forest cleans and protects the water. It is the mutual action and reaction of forest and water. The Mongolian landscape and forest need a change in the viewpoint of the whole of society. But is it possible to make such a fundamental U-turn within the time frame of one project?